Still says waiting for Authoritas. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tea Time SEO. As you can tell, I am not Joe Bloggs. I'm Lawrence O'Toole, the CEO and founder of Authoritas. I'm delighted to be with you today with Carrie Shepherd, excellent Carrie from our marketing team, and also with us two excellent speakers, Sabrina Bandel from Neo in the UK and Christine Spies all the way from Zurich. We're delighted you guys could join us today to talk about a topic that's really close to my heart, how to carry out advanced keyword research and why it's still critical for SEO. So I hope you've all got your teas ready. I've managed to steal a piece of cake from the kids before they could eat it, which is very unusual in this house. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Today, I just wanted to say, Joe normally does a little bit of promotion for us, and it's really just to make sure you guys know out there that we're an SEO software company and we're into SEO software and data, and we're not an agency or a live streaming company. But today I wanted to do something slightly different, exclusively for Tea Time SEO viewers. We've got a new advanced keyword research and market analysis tool. Anyone who watches Tea Time SEO today, or you're streaming it later, email support@authoritas.com and I'll give you one free analysis of a domain, 100 competitors and up to 1 million keywords. It analyzes all the keywords, it clusters them into topics and prioritizes them for you. That's the plug over with. You can do some advanced keyword research manually. You can do it at a touch of a button. I know Christine and Sabrina have got some excellent tips for you guys. I've looked at their slides already. I'm really excited to get into it. So let's get started. Over to you, Sabrina.
Thank you both very much for inviting me to this platform, and I'm really excited to share with you some tips. But firstly, introducing myself. So I have been working at Neo Media World now for a little. I have been in this space for about 2 years, and what excites me the most is the technical side of SEO, but also thinking more as a holistic approach about the different touch points that users might come into in their user journey. So thinking about the different touch points that users might come into contact with throughout the whole process, from informational through hopefully to conversion. And then also with what I've been thinking about solutions for the clients that we have, is this has led to the development of some products. So that's also really interesting, and what I've also spent some of my time doing as well. So that's a bit about me. And now on to Christine.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be part of the session today. And here are a few words about me. I work in SEO more than 10 years. I've joined the team of the digital agency Debt in Zurich in 2014. And there I do technical content optimization of larger online shops. And I'm very, very interested in doing text analytics, text scraping, text mining. And I love to extract information out of unstructured data, aka natural text. And my most important goal is to find the missing topics with small and okay, there are small but experimental natural language processing approaches in Python, yeah, to find the topics we are searching for, to fill the gaps. Yeah, that's me.
Super, Christine. A topic that's very close to my heart and something we do a lot of here. So that's great. Thank you so much for your introductions. I think Sabrina is going to kick us off. So over to Sabrina.
Hi, sorry for the delay. My internet just dropped fairly, so I had to try and move closer to the router. So I hope you can all hear me. So my top tip. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So I think there's also a graph on that slide if you're able to click to see. Thank you so much. So first of all, we'll be talking about long-tail keywords. And we will also be talking about why we should be focusing on this. So sometimes it can be the case with short tail keywords can be very competitive in the search engine results pages. this might be that there are lots of aggregator websites which have really high authority and just larger budgets behind SEO implementation. So sometimes it can be worth our effort in thinking about other ways to become more visible in the SERPs. So, for example, this is a graph from Ahrefs. They have found that of their US database of 1.9 billion keywords, that 92% of them generate fewer than 10 searches per month, or up to 10 searches per month. So this shows that lots of people are asking really unique and niche questions or long tail queries, which tend to be more unpopular than the more short-term head keywords that we're used to seeing. So the graph on the right shows that with this, that about 32% of the keywords which generate about 1,000 searches or more per month, of those keywords, there are three or more keywords in that keyword phrase. So this just shows the popularity of these longer tail keywords that users are using and that are searching for. So this was also key to highlight, because also in these cases, we can see keywords which can convert quite nicely and quite well, and that the propensity of that user is easier to convert than those that are perhaps searching shorter tail keywords because they're more generic. So this slide shows us how we can sometimes find the questions or the longer tail queries that people are asking, and how we are already performing in terms of ranking for these. So this is something taken from Google Analytics, and we can plug in our Search Console data through to Google Analytics. This is a screenshot here of how, using a matching regular expression, we are able to find these longer queries. So we have used the pronouns for why, who, where, when, etc. And then we can see from this their performance. What I like to do from this is identify the keywords which are on the lower part of the first page, because they're already done a lot of the hard work. They're already ranking on the first page, but what can we do to get them more visible in the first page, to get them into the top positions? And as well, we can look at ones that rank on page 2 for this. And then while we have these keywords from Google Analytics, it's then also important to get an understanding of the performance from a page level. So this we can get from Data Studio dashboard. And what we can do from this is get our list that we have from Google Analytics, and we can filter these, because we have the filters here, by query, and we can select multiple queries from this filter, which cannot be possible in Google Analytics. We can then export this data with the average position and the metrics such as clicks, etc. So then we can have a better understanding of what is the mapping and what pages are ranking for these keywords. So we know where to focus our efforts at the page level. So this brings us nicely onto people also ask. So this graph is a nice representation of just how common these are. So at the moment on mobile, these feature in about 42%. This is 27%, because typically on mobile, it is much more prevalent than on desktop. So sometimes by looking at the search engine results pages themselves, we can find these queries as well. So it's also not necessarily just looking at the tools that we have, but also thinking about the results pages, because these have really valuable information about what users might ask further down the line throughout that user journey, that we can try and keep them engaged on the website by answering their questions throughout each step. So we can think about micro moments. We can think about, I want to know, maybe I want to go, or I want to buy. So keep them engaged and moving nicely along at a steady pace to hopefully then convert. So think about these people also ask. It's important to also realize what keywords are triggering these questions. So what Ahrefs does really nicely is that we can identify at that keyword level what questions are then being asked in the search. It is quite rare for a tool to be able to give us this connection from the keyword to the question themselves, because this also then kind of gives us an impression of visibility with the keyword volume, because I think that plays nicely into thinking about how visible these questions are and potentially how popular these are as well. So by having this information, we can then prioritize based on perhaps an impression or visibility metric, how common these are, and then to focus our efforts with those ideas and those themes that we can group together. So I have now gone through our ways to identify these opportunities and why we should focus on these opportunities of long tail keywords. But now let's talk about what we can do from here and how we can actually action this. So once we have gathered from these multiple sources the different keywords, and also the keywords which trigger questions, we then have an extensive list. We can start grouping these. As I mentioned slightly before about micro moments, we can think about all the different steps at which a user might come back to a brand to look at the answers that they might have to certain questions. So if we're able to answer them at every step, not just thinking about potentially the high conversion ones, we can think about the ones that they might ask at the earlier stages. They might think about that brand throughout that process and come back to that brand when they might be ready to then convert. So it's important to keep a presence throughout all the different micro moments and stages that a user might have. So then we can do more of a content audit. We can then identify the pages which are ranking for those questions, or perhaps the pages which have gaps, and where we can do some content extension or optimization, thinking about the metadata and the targeting of those pages, because we also then need to target those pages better to what the users are asking, so that we can match up the users' queries really nicely to the content that we can serve them. And this kind of gives a better succinct journey for the users. And having this content, not just in the metadata, but on the on-page copy in an easy, friendly, readable style that's digestible for anyone to read, is really key and is quite important when we're thinking about having answers being served to these questions. And then, of course, we need to think afterwards about marking this up with structured data to make Google understand our content better. So I'm now going to pass over to Christine, who also has some really interesting things to share with us today.
Hello, yeah, it's me again. I want to share with you some hopefully inspirational thoughts about how we can do keyword research and how we can get out of the box of search volume-based keywords. And first of all, and this is what Sabrina already said, you have to do the fundamental research steps. You have your SEO tools, you can get keywords with search volume, you can get words from your customer support, maybe what our customers or clients are talking about, or what are they asking frequently questions. And you can also ask your category managers or your product managers, or you can use words from your from comments or reviews out of social media. And the next, please. Yes, but when we get a step behind and think about how language acquisition works, I think we saw that Google understands language better and better in the years before, and it is obvious that in the future they understand that much better the language. And it is kind of language understanding as we know it from little kids when they learn language. They first of all know single words, then words in combinations, or the relations between the words. And I think Google is at the step where they extract topics out of unstructured data, out of natural text, and try to get the context as it is described in every detail you use in your text. And the goal is to create the right context with every detail. And yes, and the next, please. Yeah, how can we do that? we should fill the gaps. It is, and I talk from my own experience in daily business. I take a look into the SERPs and the top 10 rankings of Google and try to figure out, wow, what are the others doing and what are competitors doing. But the idea is to fill the gaps, to find topics or things we can explain or describe about our products or our services to fill the gaps that are in the search engine results. And we can describe our products very carefully in every detail. And as Sabrina said, and this is the idea of long tail keywords we can generate when we describe every detail of our products and services. And when we describe attributes, features, and common use cases or experiences people had when they use our products or our services, we describe so much details and create a big context about our topics we want to describe. Yeah, and we can use all parts of speech. From my own experience, I know we focus a lot of nouns as keywords, and we get this words out of the keyword tools and from the Google Keyword Planner. There are nouns, and when we think about an online shop, there are products, and obviously these are nouns, and it is. I think it could be helpful to think about verbs, adjectives, and prepositions. These little details. They give your context the meaning and the relation that matches best with the user's intention. And yes, and when we do this, and when we think about all parts of speech, we can create our own language identity. We know this concept from corporate identity or corporate language, and we can think about what kind of words do we want to use in our in our context and our text, or when we select keywords for our navigational structure. And it could be interesting when you compare your own text with other text. As an example, there is an article about books, and this article you find it on the Wikipedia, the normal Wikipedia, and there is another Wikipedia with simple English language. And when you compare it, you see there are other kinds of words they use. They use lesser or not that often long words that are typically used in academic context. And it is very interesting when you compare your own texts with other texts, and not only text from search engine results, also from other texts that are available in internet, and try to figure out what is the reader's expectation, or maybe you can create a known context that isn't already existent in the search engine results. Yes, and the next slide. And I think this is the most important slide. It is helpful and you get a better understanding for your own language when you do experiments. And I put some small tools on this slide. These are not this natural language processing approaches, what you can simulate with these tools, but you can try to figure out what kind of language do you use when you write text on your website. You can extract with these small tools what parts of speech are often used on your website or on other websites, and you can get an understanding for the entities or the word frequencies you use. And when you use words that are not you not get out of the keyword planner from Google, you have, or it could be helpful to test these words in a PPC campaign if you have one, to get an understanding about what kind of words can generate impressions or clicks. And maybe you find words you didn't or you couldn't find in the keyword planner. Maybe there are other words. I don't know. But I think testing is the most important thing. And also, when you do some small NLP approaches, there are a huge number of articles available that describe step by step how you can write a Python script, or how you can do entity extracting or topic modeling. And you can also use the Google resources. They give you an understanding of how Google extracts meaning out of unstructured data, aka natural text. Yeah, that's me. And thank you so much.
Christine, thank you so much. And you spoke very eloquently for your first presentation in English, so you couldn't tell. So thank you.
To breathe.
No, you did very well indeed, and thank you so much for doing that. Likewise, Sabrina. I think some days we do these talks, and there's lots of banter and what have you on the online chat, and some days it's a bit quieter. I think it's one of those quieter days today, but I'd encourage everyone who's out there listening to get some questions in. I've got plenty of questions for you guys, but obviously we've got limited time, so I'll throw it over to Carrie first just to ask a couple of questions that have come in. I'd like to thank everyone who's logged in, all those people watching that are not logged in. So Carrie, any questions?
Yes, thank you. So we have one question here. What are some of the best tools to form long? I think it's probably to see long tail keywords.
Yeah, he's talking about generating long tail keywords.
Yeah.
Are there any tools to help him think, go through these ideas and automatically generate these keyword variants for me? Anyone can come in on that. I mean, either of you, Sabrina or Christine.
Yeah, so for me, what I like to use is Ahrefs, because you can use there's a filter which has the word count, so you can then choose how many is the minimum that you want to look at. So you might choose that the minimum words that you want to look at in a particular keyword is 3. So then you'll automatically have this filtered list of long tail keywords from Ahrefs. I believe that SEMrush also has this capability, but I think it's an easier visualization from Ahrefs.
Okay, great. Christine, anything to add?
I use the keyword tool IO very often, and answer the public to get an idea of frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
And the Python script.
Well, it sounds like you do a lot of work with Python and your own internal tools. Funny enough, being a tool person who's been developing software for years, of course, when you put up your list of tools in your presentation, I had a look earlier, and there was one I hadn't seen, so I thought I'd have a look at it, which was the data basic one, and the one that does word frequencies. But I thought, for anyone who's got 5 minutes whilst they're waiting for Tea Time SEO to start, go in there and you can look at different content, and it will give you one-word phrases, bigrams and trigrams of those keywords. And what I looked at was Taylor Swift's lyrics, Bob Marley's, the Beatles, Katy Perry, Madonna, and Stevie Wonder. And I thought what was quite interesting was the top words from Taylor Swift was "I'm no like O," which speaks like a teenagers. From Katy Perry, it was "Oh like I'm yeah." But then if you go to the older stuff, Bob Marley, the Beatles, Madonna, Stevie Wonder, it was yeah, I love no I'm yeah, love I'm get no, love time yeah baby. So a bit more love from the older singers and a bit more like from today. I don't know what that tells us about society as a whole, but it's a lot of fun playing with these tools sometimes. So thank you for that. That gave me a 5-minute diversion. But just while we're on tools, Sabrina, you mentioned some interesting things like using regex in Google Analytics to filter keywords if you've got Google Search Console connected to Google Analytics. You also looked at the Google Data Studio dashboard. Obviously, Christine, you've got your own. You're using a variety of different tools and some homegrown tools. But what about efficiency and process? Working in an agency where you've got lots of clients, or even in-house, you want to be efficient. So how do you glue it all together into an efficient keyword research process that you can conduct periodically? That's a question to either of you. I mean, Sabrina, for example, how do you guys do it?
Yeah. Okay. So just jumping quickly back to the tools, another one which I really like is also Ask, which was generated by, I think, Candor quite recently, and it's in alpha mode. So I've tested that quite recently, and they've noticed a massive uplift in the recent months of people also ask questions that are being served on the search engine results pages. But coming back to your question about efficiency and the process, what I like to use is also Screaming Frog sometimes to scrape the SERPs. I think sometimes we can get really caught up in the tools that we might use, and then actually the search engine results pages give us so much insight, and we really cannot ignore that. So what I like to do is use custom extraction and obtain the XPaths, and then we can understand better what all the different questions people are asking, because these pages are also websites in themselves. So that's why I said about trying to map these questions back to the keyword that generates them. So if we have this list of keywords we might get from Ahrefs, we can then concatenate this into a URL string where you do like a search query in Google, and then we use those lists of URLs to upload that to Screaming Frog. And then using that XPath through custom extraction, we can then get those questions. So that can run in the background, and that's something that you can takes 10 minutes to set up, and however long your URL list is will take you a couple hours or longer, and then you can jump back to it when that crawl is done.
Okay, great. Okay, so some additional insights there. What about you, Christine, from a process perspective? How do you make this process efficient?
Most of all, I use Excel tables, not so very fancy, but it works with this, how this is in English, uplook function, where you can combine different sheets in one Excel table file. Then we work with Google spreadsheets and put the data in data studios together to do visualizations, or for sharing this kind of data visualizations with customers. They like images, of course, but when I do my own work and working with keywords, I often use Excel tables, and when I extract data, I use Screaming Frog a lot, and also this little Python scripts, but these data get into an Excel table most of the time.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end of the day, typical SEOs, we will end up in Excel or Google Sheets or something. But it is. I mean, and we know we make software. We have software tools that do things like this. FAQ Explorer will take bunches of keywords and find 30 questions for each one automatically. There's things that we do. We can analyze user intent using some of our modeling, but we recognize that no platform has it perfect. And SEMrush, Ahrefs, also great tools. Answer the Public. There's a variety of different things, but obviously there's different ways of visualizing that data and getting insights from it, and that's the challenge. I don't know, have you guys ever done any work on looking at the relationships between keywords and questions, for example, in network diagrams or graphs?
As a kind of visualization.
Yeah, but also to look at relationships and centrality of keywords. And I will share something again in the future, but just something maybe I can share with you afterwards, and maybe on a future Tea Time SEO. I've personally just been looking at prototyping, taking the head terms, the keywords you want to rank for, even long tail keywords, and then looking at the people also ask questions that come up, and then putting those into a graph so you can see the relationship between the keywords and the questions. And what you'll see is certain questions are very central to certain topics. And those are the questions for me that you want to be answering. So for us, there might be a question around keyword ranking APIs, or what is a keyword ranking API? And it's relevant to our keyword ranking pages and or our keyword API pages. And that for me is a question that we have to answer. And we have to try and get featured snippets for. And it's quite interesting when you analyze a whole market. There's a lot of noise out there. You're not going to rank for every question. But if you could rank for the ones that are central to your themes, then it's going to improve your relevancy and improve the kind of relevant traffic you're going to get, traffic that converts. So look, we can talk about tools all day, as I'm sure. Carrie, any other questions coming through?
I don't think so. Do you have any questions, Lawrence? I think we've got time for about one more question.
I've got a question. I noticed Will in the comments, William saying, wow, all these years I had no idea you were a software company. So that's the trouble with doing live streams. We live streamed Brighton for the last 4 years, and then people think, oh, can you come and do a live stream for us? And we're like, no, we've been making SEO software and tools and APIs for donkey's years, since 2009. So I've got a few other questions. You both talked about, while we're on questions, Sabrina, you talked about conversational Q&A and writing things in a very conversational way to try and rank for featured snippets and organic FAQs. Christine, you talked about sort of language identity and this concept, which is quite a new concept to me, which is quite interesting. But with BERT and with Google's advances in understanding content and also understanding when we're trying to manipulate that content, as SEOs, should we really just be writing for users and just hope and pray that works for search engines too? Or can we still, make every possible tweak to the way we do things to try and optimize it to get it perfect? Christine, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because you can do, or you can choose the keywords other already have chosen. Then you do the things the other already have done. And the question is, do you want to do something else, or do you want to make a difference? And do you want to I don't know. I'm between the points. When I think I want to get search volume, I want to get users, but on the other hand, I want to make a difference with my content, and I think I should be in between, in the middle, maybe. And I have to write good text, and I have to be aware of what are the details that makes a text to a good text, and it is between it, and I think both is important. Yes. Okay,
so a little bit of both. And what about yourself, Sabrina? Where do you sit?
Yeah, I think there is an important notion of being in the middle of that, because with the BERT algorithm updates, there are examples where the answers which were served to certain questions before or long tail queries are different to what is being served now. So we can see that improvement in understanding. And what I think helps to bridge this gap is actually structured data. I think adding this gives more context to the bots to understand this better. So, for example, using FAQ or Q&A markup, and maybe how to markups for like recipes and things like that. I think that bridges the gap more. Perhaps maybe in certain number of years' time, there will be less reliance on that as the algorithms become smarter with these advancements such as the BERT algorithm. But I think for now, we need to be in the middle and thinking about the end user, but also Google as well. Because ultimately, in order for that user to see that content, Google has to understand it better. So I think there's a mix of both, of all the signals that we need to be able to demonstrate.
Great. All right. Well, look, I think that's a really good point. And I think for years as SEOs, I'm going back to the early days of IBP and tools like that, back when I started nearly 20 years ago. You know, there were often tools that told you to use this keyword in your headings, in your descriptions, in the first 100 words in the headings. You know, and personally, I never liked that and was never a big advocate for that. And I'm sure it worked very well for a period of time. But maybe perhaps as time goes on with Google getting smarter, as SEOs, we should be less about we write for users, and maybe, you know, the stuff we're doing is a little bit more behind the scenes. It's making the pages faster. It's doing the structured data. It's looking at linking to entities with, you know, tools like WordLift. If you haven't had a look at WordLift, have a look. Great guys. And so for me, it's the jury's out. We'll always be trying to manipulate things just to try and give us a bit of an advantage over our competition. That's what we're paid to do at the end of the day. I think certainly long gone on the days of keyword stuffing, thank God. But okay, well, look, I think that's probably my last question. There's a question from Fatar. He's asked it twice, so I better ask it for you, which is, and whether you can come in on this, what is the best strategy to produce the content on the same topic over and over? So what do you think to that?
Is it a good strategy to create content for one topic over and over again? How big is the topic? This is
that's a good
maybe.
Question. So there's two ways of reading this. This is writing specifically about a very, very specific thing, and I just want to keep refreshing the same content and keep it up to date. Or it's a big topic and I want to cover every single angle. I think that's where he's going. Maybe that's one for another Tea Time SEO session, I'm afraid, Fata, but maybe we'll do one on that at some point in time. But certainly for me, you know, if you've heard about, I don't know, skyscraper SEO techniques. You know, if someone's got great content on a particular, let's say, you know, the ultimate guide to keyword research, and let's say the three of us wrote that together. You know, we would want to update that regularly, reading fresh content, fresh perspectives. When there's a Google algorithm update, how it's changed, that content cannot stay static. And, you know, if you want to resonate with users, let alone search engines. So, okay, I'm going to draw a line under it there. I think we try and keep it to half an hour, so it is short for tea break. My tea's gone cold and I've still got half a muffin left. But Christine, Brina, thank you ever so much for your time today. It's really interesting. I'm sure we've got plenty more we could talk about. To everyone who's been watching, logged in or not, thank you for your questions. And Carrie will just tell you when we're next back on.
Great, thank you. So we will be back next Thursday, and we will be joined by Sarah and Moret, who will be talking about e-commerce emails, content you cannot afford to forget. So we'll see you guys there next week at 4 o'clock. Have a good week, and thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.